This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. In studio with us today is Alan Utley, a career and leadership coach with My Coach Next Door. Alan has 25 years experience as a human resource executive, 10 years as a business owner, and 3 years as an adjunct instructor in leadership at UTSA. Alan, that is a mouthful. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marc. I'm a big fan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I like your shirt, man.
Thank you.
You dressed up nice for the show. Dressed up better than my co-host did today, so thanks for that.
My wife says I look hip.
On what world? I look good.
Well, he's wearing a jacket. I don't know.
You represent.
I'm
You
a
guys
woman.
We have to.
What is being a... You could wear a suit. I don't know.
It's hot outside.
It is hot.
Listen, you
We're
all
in
look great.
Texas.
You look great.
Thank you, especially me right now.
Yes. Well,
Sorry, I'm feeling a little
Debatable.
giddy today. I think it was the McDonald's I had for breakfast this morning. I'll be taking a nap later. Thank you. So nothing like processed food to get your day started. All right, so our
being
talking point
extraordinary.
today is going to be focused on the difference between being ordinary versus extraordinary, right? I mean, like you could make your own eggs, or you could go to McDonald's and get like their eggs. You know what I mean? Which are extraordinary. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I love the reframe on that because Emad's take on that was that going to McDonald's was the ordinary choice because you did not put in the work to make the eggs and they weren't homemade. And yours was that by going to McDonald's, you're extraordinary because are they extraordinary?
No, they're not. I'm being facetious. I mean, really.
Yeah, I was about to
like-
say, what's your
The
definition
like
of
sausage is
extraordinary?
really
It's
good
like
at
whatever,
McDonald's.
you know?
It depends on what you get.
Even Brooke was like, I didn't really want McDonald's. I wanted to get up earlier and make breakfast. It's like, I like to hear
Good
that.
for you.
It's like,
At least
make
go
your
to Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's an extraordinary breakfast.
Yeah, but you can't eat that while you're driving because it's very crumbly with their biscuits. It makes a huge mess. That's the thing that McDonald's has done right because they put it on English muffins, and you're good to go. You can actually eat that while you're driving, or in a parking lot where it's safe. Sorry.
Just like we all do. We park to eat. We don't eat while we're driving.
I've never seen Mark eat since still.
Really?
Not once.
Oh, I eat like a cop, dude. You don't want to see it. All right, so I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents who need help with policy management, claims processing, and client communication. And yes, our service is extraordinary.
And my name is Heather Boehme. I am a certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we help established small business owners gain control of their company by implementing foundational structure that allows them to scale.
All right, and I'm Emad Guirguis, owner of Simpli Bookkeeping, where we help small business owners understand their finances better so that they can be in control of their business and understand where the financial direction of their business is.
All right, a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. Now, of course, we got our big mega mixer coming up on October 3rd, so I want to give a special shout out to Matt Roberts and Matt Roberts Photography here in San Antonio for being a gold sponsor for the upcoming event. Matt and his team are experts at headshots, portraits, and branding photography that truly showcase the best version of you. Headshots are more than just a photograph. They are a powerful tool that can open doors, convey professionalism, and make lasting impressions. I've met with plenty of photographers, but Mark, he truly is extraordinary. So if you want the perfect photograph for your headshot or for your branding, reach out to Matt Roberts at mattrobertsphoto.com or call him at 210-722-0713. You've had...
Yeah, you can check out my Facebook profile picture or my LinkedIn profile picture if you want to see Matt's work. Someone told me I looked like a best-selling author who got their photo taken, and I very
That's a
much
great
liked that
compliment.
description. So they look great.
He is truly extraordinary in what he's doing. It's like I've seen his work. Have you seen his pictures of Justine Eckert?
I haven't seen his pictures of Justine, but I've seen his legacy pictures. We're going to try to get him out to take pictures of my husband's grandmother. She's like 85, and she still lives in the same house she raised her children in. And he's going to come and do pictures of her, and he's going to ask her like legacy questions, and we're going to create this whole thing that we can give to all the family members. That's like her life story, but pictures.
It's one thing to get a headshot right once or a legacy shot. done once correctly. It's another thing to do it consistently and to capture the essence of a person and what the emotion they're trying to convey in the photograph, especially on those legacy photographs. So I had seen one that he did with a lady that was in uniform. She's a military, and she's facing towards a mirror. So you see the picture from the backside, right? So you can see the kind of the backside of her, and then in the mirror you see the front side, right? Well, on the backside it's the military uniform, and in the front side she's wearing civilian clothes. So it's this transition between, military and civilian life that he's capturing. Just brilliantly done. I mean, really good. He's going to be doing a shoot for me in front of one of the San Antonio missions. I can't do the Alamo because the Alamo is under construction. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But with a San Antonio police car, we got all the details worked out now. So I'm going to be there in a suit in front of that, capture that with the mission and the police car and me. That's going to be awesome because I'm a retired cop. And then also in front of an F-16. So we're going to do 2 different shots there. And then I got a hotel downtown, the Intercontinental, which I went and visited. They're a luxury hotel. They're going to give us one of their meeting rooms or their whatever rooms for us to go in and have photography done there too.
Very cool.
Super excited about.
Yeah, it's just his energy. Like, a lot of people can take cool pictures, but Matt's stoked about it. He is so excited when he's behind the camera that it just brings out your excitement, and so you look better.
Yeah. And he actually takes time to tell you how to pose, how to look, what direction.
He made me
look.
turn my arms, so my arms look so skinny. That's a big deal
he's
for
got
girls.
Pretty nifty tips and tricks.
Yeah. So how do you know Matt? Have you met him?
From the last mixer, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be coming up here today. He's coming on at 1 o'clock. We're going to do like a 10 minutes with him since he's one of the sponsors over there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk ordinary versus extraordinary. Now, for you parents out there, this is an important topic for your kids. I think we should have that discussion. And do you lead by example? Are you looking to do things at a high level, or are you doing them just to tread water? Kids will pick up on that stuff. So, Heather, let me start with you. So, extraordinary versus ordinary, you think that's a good thing? You've got a different history there of that. I don't know if you want to get into that, but what's your take?
I think it's all, like, everything is in how you frame it, because I think there's a way to frame that of you can choose to be ordinary or you can choose to be an extraordinary level of whatever you do. And you have to make the choice. And from there, you can be extraordinary at anything. And it's different to tell your kid, you can be ordinary or extraordinary. What are you going to choose? And I think that's a little bit more toxic on the kid level. But being extraordinary doesn't have to be like this massive, you're always sprinting effort. It can be choosing to be 1% better every day. And that is absolutely maintainable, and that's what most of the people who've accomplished amazing things tend to do. They just focus on being a little bit better every day, and they focus on striving for the best.
That is called the compound effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Copyright Marc Ebinger, 2024.
Sorry. He made up the compound effect. You're sassy today.
It's called a compound effect. That just a little bit every day, whether it's networking or whatever you're doing. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Emad? What's your take on extraordinary versus ordinary?
I've always seen it as extraordinary as that extra thing, that caring more, paying more attention, that selection of choice. So extraordinary is always something that I've always wanted to go after personally, just because ordinary didn't seem interesting enough for me. But ordinary might seem comfortable. I'm not okay with comfortable, but it is a selection of choice at the end of the day. Like y'all said, I believe it was before the podcast, but sometimes as you're growing up as a kid, your parents push you towards it, and sometimes you're not. But at the end of the day, it's okay. It's your choice. So I don't actually have any kids of my own, but I do have a phenomenal staff that I can speak of, and I know that they're extraordinary and our work is extraordinary just because it always comes down to them. They take the extra step to always pay attention in that extra little detail. They don't just do what they're told and then say, okay, duty's done. They always review it twice, review it 3 times, see where they can improve, implement. That to me is extraordinary, which as a whole is what makes us stand out. So being extraordinary is kind of part of who we are.
Well, and it's infectious too. I think it
Absolutely.
catches on like wildfire. Alan, what do you think? Extraordinary versus ordinary?
So the perspective I like to offer on that ties closely to the kind of coaching that I do, and it's strengths-based coaching. And I have found, research has shown that your greatest chance for success in life is to discover what your natural abilities are, what your natural talents are, discover those passions, and then invest all your time and energy and effort into that. I think about Matt Roberts, for example. What you described about him was absolutely extraordinary. And it makes me wonder, well, what did he do early in life? How did he discover this passion? And what has he done to truly invest to become as amazing as he is at it? Think about all the people in the world that you can think of as top of their game. They're not great at a lot of things. They're great at one specific thing, maybe a few things, but definitely at least one specific thing. And you're all in the same boat. So to me, that is what it takes to be extraordinary. Find something you're passionate about, naturally good at, and invest all of your time and energy into being amazing at that.
What are the rewards of that?
Well, I think so many things, and I'd love for y'all's perspective too. But I think number one, there's a joy that comes from that. Showing up to work every day and doing what you like doing. There's an excellence, there's an ease, and there's an enjoyment.
Yeah, that was the correct answer.
Thank you. Wow.
Joy.
He passed it. No, because that's how I view it too. It's like there's a certain amount of joy, there's an energy that really comes into this show on a regular basis with the folks that are in it. And it's really due to the leadership of myself. I'm kidding.
You're top of your game.
Brooke
Mark.
and Jennifer
I'm
are
full of it
listening.
today.
You're all there.
No, but really, there's a joy in that. When you're really good at something and you bring that and you bring it with the right energy, it's infectious and it really gathers people around you. In business leadership, to your point, Emad, I was going to ask that of you if you didn't say that, but you nailed it on the head because you lead from the front. How many people are on your team?
We are 8 now.
Yeah, that's a good test of leadership. All right, well, great discussion on. Go ahead.
Yeah, for one other thing, our parents lied to us when they said we can be anything we want to be. Because we can't, right? But we can be everything we already are. So.
All right, well,
That's a good one.
I have to write that down.
Drop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that quote too. Holistic entrepreneurship. That was the other quote that came up on the last show. Copyright 2024. Yeah. All right. All right. So, Alan, tell me a little bit about your background. What kind of led you into coaching where you're at now? Obviously, you're having a good time doing it.
I love it. I have absolute enjoyment from getting to do that every day. So like you said in the introduction, I've been working as an HR executive for 25 years inside organizations as a traditional HR leader, but then also doing a lot of coaching and training. And back when I was going back for my master's degree in business, I started studying leadership. Have you ever had that moment where you start looking something or get involved in something and there's an instant connection to it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And you just feel like, wait, I understand this. I know how to do this. That's what it was like when I opened that textbook and started studying leadership. And I realized there's something about this subject that I connect to and I feel passionate about. And it was giving me language for things that I kind of already innately understood. And so as soon as I finished my degree, I went back and started teaching at UTSA. And I did that for a few years with students who were studying management, juniors and seniors, and absolutely loved that. So around that same time, started getting involved in more leadership development work inside organizations, crafted some leadership development strategies, sitting right next to CEOs and senior HR leaders. And it was around that time that I decided I want to just do more of this and hung up my shingle and started doing my own coaching and training. So while I was doing it inside organizations, I started doing it outside organizations as well, in parallel. So I've been doing that for 10 years.
So how long did it take for you to figure out, okay, like you just said, you opened the textbook and you're like, I like this topic.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to switch and be like, this is my thing?
I think it was instantaneous. It was around that same time that I had opportunities within the company that I was working at where I had a leader who was an amazing mentor, an amazing leader who saw some potential in me, who put me into positions to start using those skills and those talents. And it's been a rocket ship for me ever since then. And I haven't looked back. I've just enjoyed every minute of it.
That's fantastic.
What did that transition look like for you? You started out kind of doing both. When did you transition from working within the company to only doing what you're doing?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? You're
I
still doing
haven't,
it.
yeah.
Oh, wow, you're double duty.
I'm finding a way to integrate all of it into one.
Fantastic.
And I fortunately work for an organization that is supportive of that and understands that. And when I joined the company, I was already doing teaching, and they kind of thought that was interesting. And I've just continued to show them that I do these things outside, and they're supportive of that. We live in a day and age where it's okay to have a side hustle. And so I do, and I'm proud of it.
So then let's get into that and see if we can't. 'Cause I want to dig into
Absolutely.
how you're going to do this. What's your ideal client profile?
Okay, so I love a client, number one, who wants to change something about their current situation because there's a desire to change. I like to work with people who are in some kind of their version of job jail. Copyright 2024.
Job
There's
jail.
a lot of
I like
copywriting
that.
going
Yeah.
on.
You beat me to it. Dang it. I like that one. Jobjail.com.
So
Oh, that is a good one.
that's a good one.
That's a good
Well,
one.
you've heard of job security, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what happens when you think you have job security, you're actually finding yourself potentially in job jail because you've locked yourself out of career growth and progression. And there's two ways you get there, I found. Number one, job security lends to comforts, complacency, eventually boredom, and eventually you find yourself disengaged and you're no longer really interested in growth and development because you feel comfortable where you are. But then let's say suddenly, no fault to your own, you find yourself on the job market and you're unprepared, you don't have skills that are current, you're stuck in job jail. Another way that you often get there is, this is very common, I find, the person who is really, really good at one particular thing and their company loves that they're really good at that. They have a specialty. No one else can do it. They think, they couldn't do it without me. And then someday you discover, because they can't do it without you, you can't leave. You can't grow. You can't progress. You can't go to training. You can't even take a day off. So you're in job jail. So I like to talk to people who want to change something about their situation. They want to get unstuck. And I help them discover their passions and find a way to transition.
Wait, so job jail exists for entrepreneurship. Yes?
Like, as in, you are the single point of
You're
failure?
it.
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
Is that where you were going to? Well, that's because we've had discussions like this before, and that's something that, turning job owners into business owners. That's my tagline, copyright 2023. Thank you.
Got it.
Anyway, but that's a thing. Even it can even happen. So you can coach not only people looking to maybe do a transfer or a transition, but also entrepreneurs that are struggling with the same thing. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, no, absolutely. I think when it comes to personal and professional growth, that's more so a mindset than a skill set. Like, you have to decide to grow and change. And if you're stuck in job jail, I've also heard it called golden handcuffs, right?
Yep.
I have a friend who coaches on that specifically because she worked her way up. She's making a great salary. She's miserable, but she found herself so high salary, higher earner in her family. So what is she going to do? You can't leave because you just go lateral, and going up means more work. So what do? Take a hit for your family. So you're stuck. And her mindset, she had it shifted of I could just blow everything up and leave or continue to be miserable, or I could find an alternative route and a way to grow that will allow me to replace this income without killing myself. And that's what she's working on right now, building her coaching business on how to beat that burnout without quitting, because a lot of the times you can't. They're the golden handcuffs. So, I mean, absolutely it exists for entrepreneurs because most of the time you're doing everything for the first couple of years, and then it's hard to let go of that control so that you can grow and scale. We talk about that a lot.
And what was the question you were going to ask?
Oh, so it wasn't that. But where do you usually find that? Because in entrepreneurs, it usually happens in the first couple of years because they have to do everything. And then when they get to a point where they can leverage people and leverage their time, it's hard to let go. But where does that come up in an employee?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer to that because I think everyone's life cycle or career cycle is different. And you find people in job jail who are earlier in their career because they went to college, spent thousands of dollars, started a career, and they discovered this is not what I want. And they don't know how to get out of that. So I've got a potential client coming up, we just haven't started yet, who has been doing something for a few years, is completing her master's degree and is deciding, I'm ready to do something different. But she's kind of locked herself into a situation. Her resume says one thing about her, but she wants to tell a different story because she wants to go a different way. And so that's someone earlier in their career versus someone later.
Can I ask, if you had to, there's your ideal client themselves, but if you had to describe their personality, would it be cares too much or doesn't care enough?
That is another it depends answer to your question. I think, there are some leaders, so moving out of the job jail space, but there's also leaders who are stuck because they've been in a leadership role for so long and they've gotten into some bad habits and they're not really sure what to do differently to be a more effective leader. Often organizations will hire a coach to work with that person, and that's more of an intervention kind of coaching strategy. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
From your look on your face.
It's
Yeah.
you're the problem.
Yeah. And so those are people who don't necessarily care because they don't see the problems that they're causing because often you're getting results, but they're having such a impact negatively on the culture that they just don't see. They don't realize that all the turnover actually means they're doing something wrong. They think there's external factors that don't tie directly back to them, but they often actually do.
See, and I asked because in leadership, you need to care a lot. But I've seen some employees that just work themselves to death. Their leadership isn't recognizing it. And it's more from personal experience than work, because I usually work with business owners, smaller business owners, so they don't have a huge staff. But every once in a while, you find that staff member who's going above and beyond, but more in a sacrificial manner. They're like, only I care enough. Only I do this. Like, I have to. And at that point, I'm like, you almost need to care just a smidge less and prioritize yourself. Do you get those kind of clients? So they're just doing everything because that's who they are, but they need to scale it back a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Either inside or outside the organizations that I've worked with. I find those people all the time. High achievers who believe that the only success that they can achieve is through their own efforts. What they need to learn is how to train and develop and delegate to other people.
It's your favorite word right there.
Delegate?
Delegate.
Mark didn't need to learn how to delegate. He came out of the womb delegating.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Now, Mark, have you ever run into an over-delegating situation?
Oh, yeah, I've done it myself.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to create a sales team, and I was over-delegating the sales stuff, and it just all fell apart. I wasn't ready for that, and there's abdication comes on a little too soon when you don't know what you're doing. It's just one of those things that I had to fail out.
I feel like we sat in this room and argued about the meaning of abdication, and you just used it exactly the way I think of it. So woohoo!
Yeah.
I feel very vindicated here. Point for Heather.
No, I think it's a point for me because I'm the one that said it.
I sat in that chair and I was just like, that's not what it means.
Yeah. But abdication, again, I don't want to go into it again, but yeah, there's a good side to abdication and there's a bad side to abdication. So
there is. It's when you're delegating to develop. Mm-hmm. And I was in a situation once where I over-delegated to a point where I had 2 people on my team leave who had critical roles and knowledge. I didn't know how to do it. And so I learned a very valuable lesson in that moment of there's a spectrum of delegation. And if you delegate to the point where you no longer have the knowledge to do the work, you've over-delegated.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that because the bigger the company gets, that's going to be a necessity. And so that's where redundancy comes in.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if you've got redundancy in key roles, then I think you've got a little bit better assurance that you're not going to be left holding. Because I don't think it's practical that a CEO knows how to do some of the critical roles of the business, knows it 100% as well, so they can pick it up in case something bad happens. That's where just redundancy comes in, and then SOPs, right? Having
process mapping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
your jam.
language. Yes, I love process mapping.
That's where documenting all your key roles of that specific employee comes in play, because it is kind of inevitable where an employee is going to leave. And they're eventually to a point when you are a big enough company, they're going to have more skills than the owner or the CEO. And you've got to have those SOPs in place and structure.
Loom has made it so much easier to get SOPs nowadays where they can just screen record and kind of walk through everything. It's so much easier. I have summer interns and I just tell them, make a Loom of everything that you do, because if you figure something out and then you don't want to stay,
someone's got to take
I
your
don't know
place.
how to do that because I am not about configuring my CRM, but they are going to Loom it for me so I can figure it out or just give it to somebody else to figure out. It's great. Technology has allowed us to go so much further. But coming back to you, so you mentioned finding people's strengths. Do you find that people know their strengths, or that's something they need to discover through working with you?
Very interesting question. And I'll reference a tool that I use, and maybe you've heard of it. It's called Clifton Strengths. Some people call it Strengths Finders. And you familiar with it, Mark?
No, I've heard it mentioned.
Okay. So it's a great tool that its whole thing is we're going to unlock your talent DNA. We're going to tell you what your strengths are. But when people get that report and they read it for the first time, the question I always ask is, what was your first impression? And it's always, I feel like someone was reading my diary. But what's happening is they're reading words and they're hearing what they already naturally know how to do for the first time in a language that makes sense to them and feels connected. So yes, most of the time people know them. They just haven't put intentional thought to it.
And that's the thing. It almost feels kind of like back in high school when we all had to take that aptitude test, and it told me I was going to be a nurse or an actress, which don't seem like they're very well related. And I am neither of those things. But like, I feel like people think about that in aptitude tests. What happens when they get their strengths? They're like, oh yeah, I am good at that. My current role has nothing to do with that, and I do not know how to use it to make money.
I was hoping you'd ask that question, because what this assessment doesn't do is it doesn't tell you what job you should have, right? What this assessment does is it tells you what your top strengths are. By the way, I'm certified in this. There's 35 strengths, and it's going to give you your 1 to 34, and the top 5 are your signature themes. And those are the ones that tell you this is your greatest chance for success every day. These are the clothes you wear all the time. This is how you show up no matter what job you're in. This is how you show up. And so a coaching conversation with me will be, okay, so let's take this list of 5. Let's talk about how these have shown up in the past. Let's go back to high school. What were you involved in? What were you excited about? What were you passionate about? And then you start seeing those strengths show up. Because they're, for example, my top 5 are achiever, woo, which is actually an acronym for winning others over. So it's sort of, I love connecting with people and influencing. No one's a stranger, right? I have positivity, I have communication, and I have learner. And I look at those 5 and I go back to everything that I've ever done, and I absolutely see all of them. So a coaching conversation is, where have you been successful? Because how you're going to be successful going forward is you got to find clues in your past success. So now how do we take what you did there and apply it to the job you're in? Craft the job that you have today to leverage your strengths and be happy. It's so much work to change jobs. So if you can craft the job that you want where you already are, I think that's a great investment.
I think that this would be good for high school students.
Agreed.
So have you looked at offering this up as like a workshop or something for kids in high school? Because the quicker they can figure this out and get some direction, the better progress they'll make.
I love that idea. I know Gallup, who is the organization that owns the tool, they actually work with institutions. I think Our Lady of the Lake University is an example of one organization that is a strengths-based educational institution. I don't know if they've gone to high schools, but that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. Do you have connections in high schools?
I do have a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would also save a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a huge benefit. I mean, they talk about financial literacy, but what about leadership or your own strengths and weaknesses literacy? You know, I mean, the quicker that can be identified, the quicker kids will make progress. Because my daughter would probably that would be great for her to do something like that. You offer it as a workshop. You're also going to have the parents there going, oh, this is cool. And those parents probably have jobs, right? Or careers that this could be impactful for as well. So I think that's a great segue.
So one question I was going to ask is, amongst the people that you kind of coach and come across, what's the average age of people that you find they figure it out and they're like, okay, this is actually what I've put on this earth to do? Because
yeah, again, the answer is it depends, because I think everyone's journey is their own. But I do remember years ago, and I used to use this in my class at UTSA, there was an article from the Harvard Business Review that showed you the average age that someone got formal leadership training for the first time, and the number of years they had been in a leadership role before they got leadership training. You want to guess? The average age was 40, and they had been in a leadership position for 10 years.
Wow.
And so it's that kind of training where people start to make those discoveries and those connections. So maybe that is a roundabout way to answer your question.
Yeah, yeah.
It goes back to the point that if this was something they did in high school, it would have a tremendous effect.
Right. They wouldn't have to spend that much time trying to figure things out.
Yeah, your success access point changes from 40 back to 18.
I don't know though, because I think it depends on how dialed in. You're going to get a percentage of the high schoolers, but like I would not have, because I wouldn't have been paying attention. I was a spacey high schooler who was reading my book, and I wouldn't have paid attention to your workshop. Had my parents made me go to your workshop, I probably still wouldn't have paid attention.
Well, and that's why
I had to come online, and I think that's
I probably wouldn't have either.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you
gotta
go
recognize
to
that.
the honor students. You go to the ones that are actually putting in extraordinary
I
effort
was an honor student
in school.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I just wouldn't have paid attention.
There's always the exception.
yeah, there's exceptions to every rule, right?
But I
It's called
hear
the
that.
Heather rule.
It's called the Heather rule.
I identify that with that because in high school for me it was all about choir and drama, right? I had an idea of maybe doing something in business, but I didn't know. And even when I graduated from college and I started my first career job, I was unhappy. I was disengaged. I didn't know where I was going. It took a little bit of while. So it truly is a journey. I don't know. We can try that, and I love that idea. But you might find people still have a variety of failures and missteps that they have to experience in order to find their true passion and be successful.
Yeah, but for those 3 or 4, you have an impact over a period of a year.
Oh yeah, the
That's
percentage
a
still
tremendous
is good.
change.
worth it.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right.
Absolutely. And what a cool thing to be a part of that story. And this is why documenting that process, especially for like social media, it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm involved. You're giving back to the community, which is always a great thing to do. But then you're documenting that journey so that people can relate to it. And you're going to have people that have kids that think it's a fantastic idea, but they're also struggling in their career, that they're going to be like, I need to know more about what's happening here. And then that's where I think you can pull clients from that too.
So we're all striving for something in our business. What are you striving for? What's the ultimate end goal here?
So where do I see myself in 10 years,
Yeah.
20 years?
I always like to ask about the end result.
You know what I love about this work, and I feel privileged to get to do it. I love having an impact. Someone told me recently that something that makes me different and unique is that I have a unique energy and a unique passion. And I feel like I get to give that to people. And I find that I do that through my coaching and through my training workshops. And I want to just keep doing that, and I want to keep scaling that, and I want to get with organizations and with teams and do training for them, help them enhance their effectiveness as teams, help leaders enhance what they do. What I truly get enjoyment out of is when I see a leader do something different because of a conversation that we had. And by the way, I'm not giving them advice. That's not my job as a coach. I'm helping them make their own discoveries. And it's through the conversation. It's a very personal conversation that we have. They walk out of that with a new concept, a new idea. And when I get to see them do it, I just sit back and smile. And when I see it make an impact, I just feel really great. So I don't know if that answers your question. I just want to keep doing that.
So if there was someone that you could say, I want to be on that level in 10 years.
Oh,
is there
Simon
someone?
Sinek, sign me up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Who's that?
truly is extraordinary. You're joking, right?
He's a massive leadership
Look him up.
development coach. So look him up. What's the one book he wrote? Oh my gosh, that everybody knows.
The word "why" is in it. WHY. That's one of them.
Baby Wise?
No,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I did read Baby Wise.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
if you're a parent,
yes.
every parent should read Baby Wise.
Start with why. I think was
Start
the
with
book.
why.
That might
That's
be the
it.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got this whole golden circle concept. I think. I hope I got that right because this is being recorded.
So, from experience, the path to entrepreneurship. Well, let me ask first: are you trying to become an entrepreneur? I mean, a solo, like do that as your. This is how you make your living.
I am an entrepreneur.
I know, but as how you make your living, are you trying to get there?
Absolutely. And I read an article years ago that said sometimes the path to get there is one brick at a time. And that's what I'm doing. Because of what you said earlier, I cannot just break off. I'm not there yet. Because I have a family, I have needs.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally get
So
that.
that is the long-term goal.
I see employment while you're building a company. It can be a huge handicap as well. I've experienced that in my own life, so I can speak to it myself. But you're exactly right. You can't just like, oh my God, I'm jumping.
And his
I don't
is
know if I
really
have a parachute.
symbiotic with his coaching, though. He's probably
is.
learning and growing through his job that absolutely
mixes.
benefits.
Yeah.
But there's a hunger and there's a drive that's needed in order to be successful in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So, can you manifest that while you're still working?
And there's a risk to it, right? You're taking an absolute leap. I don't know the answer. It's something that it takes time to think through. Because I enjoy the work that I have today. I like the I'm someone who likes having a lot of balls to juggle, and that's what I'm doing right now, and I am enjoying it. But I do see a future state where I'm doing workshops, I'm coaching, maybe even teaching again, as all part of this consultancy coaching world.
Well, and you've got little kids too. You've got kids around my age. So how do you manage your energy with a job, a business, and kids?
I love that I wake up every day with my energy is there. And like I said, achiever is my number one strength, right? So that is all about every day there's a fire in the belly and you put it out and then it comes right back. There's a drive, there's a stamina.
Right
it just comes right
from
back.
sleeping. That's it.
It does. It truly does. And when you're doing the things that you love, it recharges you.
It's very true.
I'm gonna
that?
second that. Actually, I'm gonna second that.
Yeah, I'll third it.
On that topic, I got asked the other day, "What time do you set your alarm clock?" I said, "I really don't." And they're like, "But how do you wake up in the morning in time?" I'm like, "I'm always up earlier than I need to be." And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I want to wake up and get started.
Let's go.
I'm just excited." And they're like, "Still?" Still. So I totally feel you on that. I mean, you go to sleep, maybe you're exhausted and everything, but if you're doing what you love, you're up in the morning ready to go.
But there are those days that you're exhausted.
Yeah.
At the end
definitely.
of the day, right?
It's called
Absolutely.
Saturday.
It's good.
Saturday.
Saturday?
Saturday.
Never heard of it.
And balancing work and life and kids. So it's wonderful that I have an amazing spouse who also has her own path that she's on and has her own dreams and is doing amazing things, and we support each other.
So I've got a question. Why do you think it's essential to have a job but also have a side hustle?
For me, it's just how I find, I don't know, it's the
achievement.
joy. It's the achievement piece. It's feeling like I'm doing something that's adding value and giving back, because I'm also a volunteer for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I'm finding time to do that as well, and I'm in a leadership role with that.
That's
and
fantastic.
It's maybe I'm doing too much, and maybe someone's going to call me and give me therapy, but for now, I'm happy.
Yeah, if you've got the energy and passion to do it, and it feels rewarding, and there's success coming out of it, do you have a coach yourself?
That's a great question, because I should. I did have a person who was a mentor for a number of years for me, and we just kind of stopped at one point, which a lot of mentoring and coaching relationships are. They're like that. I don't currently have someone, but I do have people that I call from time to time who are sort of my personal board of directors, who I get advice from, who I get pep talks from, but not a formal engagement at the moment.
So let's shift gears here a little bit to personal branding, because I know this is something that you're doing right now. And so I like personal branding. I think it's a good thing. If I was a business coach, I would definitely be focusing on a lot of personal branding because that's attraction marketing. So how are you approaching personal branding?
Well, I just rebranded my company. I was previously AD Utley Consulting, which doesn't tell much of a story. And so a year ago, I changed it to My Coach Next Door, because I think it tells the story of who I am, what I do, and how. And I've also, for the last 6 months or so, started putting up a lot of videos, a lot of content. I guess I'm a content creator now on TikTok. That's where I put everything, and then I put it out on Instagram and other social media pages as well. And the My Coach Next Door is the TikTok page, and it focuses on my perspectives on leadership and careers. I make fun of the toxic bosses that we've all experienced.
I think I've seen some of those, and I think that's a pretty good lead in. That's a pretty good hook.
Yeah.
Have you seen the TikTok where it's that guy with the Australian accent reading like terrible emails from bosses?
Yes.
I feel like that would be a great stitch for you, but I love watching those. I'm not in a corporate setting anymore. It's been 8 years since I had a corporate job, but I'm still like, I remember those emails.
And I have no lack of content because
I'm sure.
being in corporate America still.
Perfect.
So you have car karaoke, right? Well, what Alan, he's got something going on it's like he's in the car all the time while he's doing this. So I don't know if there's a play on words there, or not, but I liked it. I think it's a cool approach. But what's the goal there? Obviously, you want to get more followers. You want to get your message out. But what else are you doing on a personal branding space? You've got some social media content strategy there, and what's next?
Yeah, so for me, it's about brand recognition, the social media work. I've got a website as well, My Coach Next Door. And marketing from there on out is really referral based. Most of my clients have been from referrals. But I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to recommendations.
Do most of your clients hire you directly, or do the companies hire you?
Yeah, for me, most of it is direct.
And are they mostly utilizing, sorry, Emad, I saw you
No,
take a
you're
deep breath. Are they mostly hiring you to help them figure out a new direction or just be less miserable? Like, is there a specific pain point that they tend to come to you with?
The last few clients that I've had have all been kind of in the same boat of they're so many years into their career and feel like something is stuck and they want to make a change. I had a client who'd been with the same company for years and years, started out on the front lines and is now in this executive role and just didn't feel the passion and wasn't sure where to go from there. So we connected to help him redirect and sort of reinvent. And then I had another client who had been, again, with the same company for a long time. And by the way, a lot of these are small businesses that don't have their own internal HR. And that's a very good client as well because they don't have those resources available internally. So this client needed some help with some interpersonal challenges, some communication challenges with people that they were working closely with. His brand wasn't where he wanted it to be with that company. And so our focus was about how do we change the story that's being told about who you are within this company and make a change for you.
Nice. I like it. Well, another question too is, so you've got individual training and leadership, and then there's like business leadership team as like a management team. So which approach or like what would you prefer to coach more of?
Tell me a little more about the differences in your mind.
So you've got the leadership where it's like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. I'm lost or I'm stuck. But then you have the other side of the factor where it's okay. You've got this management team that's got other people under them, and they're trying to change their leadership and their training structures as well, and they're kind of also lost with their message and branding. And so going in and kind of helping that management group to make sure that their communication with the rest of the company is aligned.
Yeah.
And so kind of tell me more about that.
I like working with those kinds of teams as well, because you mentioned workshops earlier, Mark. So there's a variety of workshops that you can do, and this is more group coaching, team coaching, where you bring a group together and we talk about what are your goals, what's your strategy, and what is keeping you from being truly effective. And that's, again, where we bring in the Clifton Strengths tools, because each individual on that team should get a one-on-one coaching session with me. And then we get together and we talk about it as a group. Okay, what are you collectively? What are your strengths as a group? What are you missing? What do you have? And how do you work together? What are the complementary partnerships within your team that are going to help you be successful as a team? So we leverage their strengths to accomplish whatever their goals are.
Now, have you ever done a situation where you did a training like that? It was really effective and it was like not the tippy top leadership, middle management or higher level management, but change comes from the top and then higher management totally ruined it?
No, I have not
Okay.
experienced
Not
that.
yet.
Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Like, that's why I don't generally coach employees anymore.
But that
'Cause
is an
I
interesting
had
thing about
leaders that kept screwing it up.
Yeah. But that is the thing. We do a lot of leadership training at the front line, and we teach certain lessons, and then they go back to their office and they think, yeah, but my leader's not doing this. And then we lose traction because there's not reinforcement of the behaviors that we're actually trying to teach. So I have seen that disconnect.
Yeah, my scenario was like a brick wall because I was coaching this side, but then this side refused to acknowledge, communicate, change in any way, shape, or form. So at that point, it's just how do you react to something you cannot control from this side of the executive level when you're over here. And it's just, it was exhausting, or maybe refer you.
This is why leadership is hard.
Yeah.
And I say it's a practice. It's an art and a science, and it's something we practice every day, and we never get 100% right. That's why it's fun, because it's a challenge.
Well, did you also know that the most books written are on the topic of leadership?
Isn't that amazing? Why
Have
haven't
you
we gotten it
written one
right?
yet?
Yeah. No, I've started one. I've got a concept that I've started outlining. I've written some words, but then I had kids and put that to the side. So I do have limits on my time.
Are you doing public speaking?
I am, yes. Yeah, I just did one actually for the Executive Women's International group here a few weeks back. Are you familiar with that group?
I am not.
I'm not.
They're a little San Antonio gym that I didn't know existed, and they actually have multiple chapters throughout the country. It's a group of women who get together to support one another and talk about development, and they do charitable work as well. So I had an opportunity to go in and talk to them about what a journey of happiness in a career looks like.
So let's talk about successes that you've had in your business, and then how do you capture that? So I think stories tell, or stories sell, right? Facts tell, stories sell. Are you capturing testimonials from your clients in a way that, can benefit other people that may be looking for some kind of social proof on what you're doing?
Yeah, if you go to my website and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see some testimonials there. The challenge is that majority of coaching clients are confidential, and so I don't get an opportunity to say, here's so-and-so, because that would add a lot of credibility, right? But so they're all quotes from clients, but you can't tell who they are.
Well, here's a way around that.
Oh.
Get a studio visit, or bring them into a situation like this and have a discussion about it.
I'd love
Because
that.
it's not like, hey, I need a quote, or hey, whatever. Tell me about your story. Where were you at before? What impact, how did you feel about the process, and what ultimately was the impact on that? You can have a 60-minute discussion with somebody and come away with a lot of content that ultimately ends up as testimonials as well.
I've got someone in mind. Let's sign it up.
Yeah, right?
Let's do
I'll
it.
introduce you to Matt, and we'll
Okay.
So
we'll get you.
I don't know how we're doing on time, but have you ever had an experience where your coaching was not successful, or it just didn't work out the way you would have wanted it to?
I think that's a tough question because there's so much variability to it. I feel like every coaching that we've ever done lends somewhere. It leads itself to something. So I don't know that I would consider any coaching a failure,
So
if that's fair.
what is your thought process on uncoachable?
Not worth my time. and that's going to be the intervention client. I don't like that client because it's the company has hired you to fix this leader, and that's not work I want.
So on the flip side of it, how is leadership coaching essential to business success?
I think it's a strategic investment that is necessary for corporations and individuals, because it's a safe space to help somebody see opportunities. We talk about coaching in business as something managers and leaders are supposed to do too, right? Like you should coach your team, and they should. But there's something about having an external coach that does not part of that power dynamic.
It's not bought into the results.
Right,
It's someone who's outside of the hierarchy who can speak the absolute truth to you about what they're seeing. So my job as a coach is to be a mirror for you. If you're saying things, doing things, I'm going to say things that are going to make you a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's part of my job. Yeah, I am my coach next door because I'm super friendly, and that's kind of my thing. But I'm friendly to I'm that neighbor that's going to be also a little bit pushy.
That kind of gives you the reality a little bit.
Absolute reality. And it is hard for me because I have positivity in my top 5 strengths, right? And I'll walk away from a conversation where I was really pushy, and I'll feel a little bit bad about that. But then when we come back and they've now taken some steps and they've done something, then I know it was worth it. And I feel like it's my responsibility to put that mirror up and let them see it.
Do you find yourself like working with people on boundaries very often?
I think so. Can you tell me more about what you're asking?
I feel like something I find in entrepreneur coaching, like coaching small business owners, is especially with entrepreneurs, they tend to have a lack of boundaries. They'll do anything, they'll work anytime, they don't have boundaries around themselves. Therefore, it's hard for them to understand their employees' boundaries. It's hard for them to understand why nobody else cares about this as much as them. And we work through that a lot. And as someone who was a burnt out employee, I did not know how to set boundaries. I didn't know I had the right to set. I wasn't taught boundaries. I was taught to do what I say. I was raised by, just the tail edge of Boomer, right? So is that something that you're finding yourself doing a lot of work on?
I think that's a very common conversation. And I even saw a meme recently where a CEO or someone who's an executive sent an email on a weekend, and at the bottom it said, "I do not expect a response. Just because I work on the weekends, I do not expect you to work on the weekends."
I do that every time.
What
I
a
text
great
on the
example of
weekend.
boundaries.
I'm like, don't read this till Monday.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you
But I'm
now.
going to do it because I need to get it off my plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But boundaries are important. I agree. And that it is it regularly comes up in conversations because leaders have a certain standard for themselves that they think everyone has to achieve, but it's not always realistic.
Yeah. So slight addition to that as well. So why do you think it's also not necessarily necessary to have, let's say you've got a hierarchy of people in your company here, and why is it important not to have the owner or someone kind of on that level teach or manage the other leaders that are in charge? Why is that difference or differentiator in having someone in important?
So let me make sure I understand your question, right? So you're saying the manager of the business, why is it better to have somebody external come in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think it's better. I think that it's complementary. Because I think that the manager of the business, I mean, they're running a business and they're paying this person to do a job. And so they're going to direct, they're going to control, they're going to organize, and they're going to do their own coaching as well. But sometimes an external person who's neutral can be an effective or more effective way to help somebody see opportunities and help them grow. Because again, there's a lack of a power dynamic in that situation. If you were my boss, I'm just going to do most of the time whatever you tell me. I'm going to say yes to any question you ask. But an external person who comes in, I could be a little bit more honest and candid and transparent with that person about what I'm thinking and feeling. Because there's no risk of losing my job. There's no risk of not getting the promotion that I want or the raise that I want or the resources, whatever it is, because there's no power dynamic.
Now, are you oftentimes helping those individuals excel individually or within their role?
I think it's all the same thing. You disagree?
Well, like, let's say, like individually, maybe you find out that they're in sales when they shouldn't even be in sales. They should be in research. So it's like, okay, you help them like do a complete 180 career change, or do you kind of go in and help them? Okay, well, this is your role, this is your duty. I'm going to help you become and do the best that you can possibly do.
Right. Well, that all goes back to the beginning of the coaching engagement. What are we going to accomplish together? What are the goals that we need to achieve? And then we focus on that. And sometimes the goals change through the discovery process, but I'm not there to tell them what they need to do or should do. They decide, and then we work together to help them achieve those goals.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think one of the most difficult parts of coaching is not giving your opinion or advice. Sometimes you think you know the right answer, but it's literally not your job to make them choose the right answer because it's not your answer, and you just have to like keep a lid on it. There have been a number of times where I'm just like, not my monkeys, not my circus, but that's one of the valuable traits of a coach is they're not supposed to tell you what to do.
There's an acronym
It's such
Mark?
bullshit. It's such bullshit. It's like, look, dude.
Mark just wants the answer.
Yeah,
Just tell me the answer.
yeah.
Let's keep
And
moving.
then hey, as a type A personality, I'll either do or not do. But at least I got what I think is a full answer. You know what I mean?
The thing is,
I give her crap on that all the
he
time.
does because I refuse to tell him what to do. But then I tell him if I told you what to do, you would not, like you may or may not decide to do it, but you wouldn't understand why you're doing it. And then you're not bought into.
I don't know.
doing
I
it.
think I would understand why I'm doing it or not doing it. I'm not looking. Look, I'm not like looking for the easy path to success, right? But I am looking for answers. So that's kind of where, when coaches start talking about, I don't give the answers. I just, I'm like, dude, it's like a massage therapist. It doesn't get the deep tissue. It's like, you got to be kidding me. That's why I came here, to get them knots out. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where boundaries come into place, Mark. You have to define, what is my role today?
Okay,
Am I
well,
here to
fair
coach you, or am I here to
You're
advise
here
you?
to tell me what I need
There's
to do.
a difference, though, between a
in and
coach and a
out.
mentor. I have a very specific
is.
example where you feel comfortable with me
Yeah,
sharing
go for it.
Yeah.
I connected you with the guy that owned the VA company, remember?
Yeah.
And he told you a very specific thing to do, which was focus on companies that already have employees. And when we got on our coaching call, you said,
What do you mean focus on companies that already have employees?
have already hired, and they're looking to hire a VA because to help with like admin tasks.
Yeah, I like that.
But you really like working with,
Solopreneurs.
which is the exact opposite of what he told you
But that
to
doesn't
do.
mean that I wouldn't pursue that. And actually, I like that because they're more suited, to his point, they're more suited. They're ready to have somebody like that come in, and they're going to be more successful. Like Emad, for example, he's got other employees. If he hires a VA, they come into a soft landing spot. I think that's a good thing. The advice wasn't bad.
No, I didn't say the advice wasn't bad, but you still had to process it. We had a whole conversation around it. And then you saw the merits of it. And that was the like coaching process of helping you work through understanding the merits of the advice he had given you. Because without coaching, he would have just given you the advice and you'd been like, great, done. Only going to market to people that already have employees, sold your robot. But that's just not how life works. You had to process it and decide it was a good idea and not just dumb advice that didn't apply to you.
I always like to start with the answer. Seriously, I love starting with the answer and working my way backwards. It's my personality type.
In coaching, the best way to get an idea, the best way to get someone to buy into an idea is to get it out of them rather than put it in them. And that's where the questions come from. The best coaching conversations are the ones where all you do is ask questions. It's also frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating.
It is frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Because people just want the answer. And I've had people like that who just say, stop asking me questions and just tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I've said that personally.
Say, why do you think I know the answers to your questions? why do you think I know what you need to do? That's the beauty. We all have a choice. We all get to choose what we do and what we do with the information that we get.
Well, because sometimes the questions make people really uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, that's the thing is you have a choice at that point in your coaching relationship. Am I going to dive into this uncomfortable and work it out? And it's like cleaning out a wound, right? You got to reopen it to get all the pus out, and then you can heal and fix it. But there's a lot of people who they don't want to go that deep. They're uncomfortable. They don't want to open up. And I've had clients that I had to let go because of that very thing. If you're not willing to go as deep as is going to be required to fix the situation you're in, then I am useless and a waste of money because I can't clean out the wound all the way if you won't let me go there. And then it's super frustrating for me because I'm like, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. I'm trying to help, but I'm not going to just like tell you what I'm trying to get you to figure out. Like,
how do you break up with a client? I mean, I know how I do it.
It's not you, it's me.
Sorry,
well, I was gonna say, I guess part of being
my
like
price
a really
just
good
went up. That's another way.
Yeah, it just tripled overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew the market.
It's the Biden effect.
Mine is more at this time. I don't think I am the right fit for you from a coaching standpoint. My style probably just doesn't work for you. You'd probably be a better fit with somebody else. And then I'll usually direct them to somebody else. So, sometimes I think they may respond better to a man or someone older, or, they may want a mentor instead of a coach. So I'll usually try to kick them to somebody else that would be a better fit than me. But
it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. Yeah.
Well, the thing about coaching too is I guess you're also asking questions and making the other person think of things that they already haven't thought of too. Right. So it's not necessarily always giving you the answer, but you're asking questions that they haven't thought about, like you haven't thought about. So now you're like, okay, there's a different perspective. So now you're having it, you as the owner, you're now thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So
that happens in here sometimes because we'll ask questions. Well, have you thought about this? And people are like, woo.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff.
I enjoy that too. One of my favorite questions to ask is, so we've already discussed a challenge that they have, right? And the question is, well, what solutions have you already considered? And if they haven't, then they're going to start coming up with some. And then then you follow that up with, well, if you try that, what's the likely outcome? And you just keep going down that, go through multiple options, multiple ideas, and then eventually you ask, which one are you going to try? When are you going to try it? When are you going to start? How are you going to know that you're done and you did it? Like that kind of accountability would drive Mark crazy, I'm just sure. But that's the kind of questions that you have to ask to get people to take action. And then it's, will you follow up with me when you're done? Let me know how you did. And then they have to do it because they know you're going to ask.
Love it.
Right on.
All right, we're well into our time. Alan, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
It's easy. Find me online at My Coach Next Door. You can also email me at Alan@MyCoachNextDoor, TikTok @MyCoachNextDoor, Instagram, and so on and so on.
All right. Ad nauseum.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. Yeah, that's right. You're putting your shorts up
there.
there.
That's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks
we had
for
a good time.
having me.
Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. This has been the most fun. I want to do it again.
All right. Awesome. Love it. All right. As we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. It's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on the next one.
All right.